Afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us for Scholarship America's Partner Convening webinar series. I'm Carrie O'Brien, and we are thrilled to have you as part of the panel, Reaching Students Where They Are, Innovation and Outreach. Today, we will be asking, how do you break through the noise and make students aware of your scholarship program? From gamified recruitment tools to influencer-driven campaigns, the panelists will share inventive tactics to meet students where they are and drive stronger applicant pools. This discussion will highlight outreach innovations, campus and community engagement channels, and employer partnerships that remove barriers and increase equitable access. With an increasingly diverse student population and increasingly fragmented media, there is no one perfect solution to connecting students with your scholarships. Today, we will talk with sponsors about what strategies work and what they have learned along the way. And with that, I would like to introduce and thank Jen Clark from Imaginable Futures, our panel sponsor, who will be introducing the moderator and the panelists.
Thank you so much, Carrie, and thank you to Scholarship America for hosting this conversation today. So I'm Jen Clark, and I lead strategic communications for the U.S. team at Imaginable Futures. We're a philanthropic investment firm that works on equity and education across 3 countries, Kenya, Brazil, and the U.S. And in the U.S., we support a range of efforts to improve the success of the 1 in 5 college students who are also parents. What do student parents have to do with scholarships in this conversation today? Well, most student parents struggle to afford college and basic living expenses for their families while they go to school, and they often slip through the cracks of institutional supports that exist to help other students who don't have kids access college. And Scholarship America has been doing a really great work to shine a light on the types of financial barriers that today's students are facing and how to reach them where they are. So we know that that the folks who are joining us today, the folks on the call, are really powerful partners in unlocking some more of those supports that can help more students get the education that they need to thrive. So I'm really looking forward to learning from this really rockstar group of speakers today. Our moderator is Ruben C. Kapp from the Kresge Foundation, where he supports initiatives focused on post-secondary access and success. His work emphasizes equitable outreach, systems innovation, and strategies that help students navigate pathways to and through higher education. And then he'll be moderating a conversation among our esteemed panelists, including Ian Bridges, who leads marketing efforts within Chick-fil-A's team member experience group, focusing on engaging team members and their families around education and scholarship opportunities. His work blends digital strategy, storytelling, and employer-based outreach to drive participation and awareness. Ashley Hughes Austin oversees talent development and performance initiatives at DLA Piper, including programs that support early career talent and students. She brings expertise in employer branding, internal communications, and building meaningful connections with prospective and current employees. Kelly Hentz works across social impact initiatives at Equitable Foundation, supporting programs that expand access to education and financial empowerment. She brings a strategic lens to outreach, partnerships, and ensuring scholarship opportunities reach historically underserved students. And Susan Carter, who serves as executive director of the CLA Foundation, where she leads scholarship and education initiatives that support students pursuing careers in accounting and related fields. Her work emphasizes targeted outreach, equity-driven design, and strong partnerships with academic institutions. So Ruben, I'll turn it over to you for this fascinating conversation that we'll be having.
Thanks, Jen. And as you mentioned, really excited. We have a really cool panel today. We started off the conversation with this idea of cutting through the noise, and I'm started kicking it off with Ashley with us with this question of, with so many competing demands for students' attention, what has surprised you the most about what does or doesn't resonate with potential scholarship applicants?
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for having me today. At DLA Piper, we are a global law firm, and we offer 2 scholarship programs, one for student athletes and one for veterans who are interested in attending law school. And really gearing these folks up with the knowledge that they really can thrive in a legal profession. And what we have found has been incredibly surprising to me is that, we started this out and we went to colleges and we would have pizza and lunches and say, come join us, come hear from our lawyers. And we thought that would work really well. Everybody says food drives attendance. We know people are hungry in the middle of the day. And, we had really hit or miss success with that approach. And what we have found over, the last few years was that really meeting students where they were was so important. And so to that end, this year, we were really excited to sponsor the Student Veterans of America annual conference. And so we went to Colorado Springs, huge room of veteran students, very interested in different areas, but also the law. And going there, we had our chair and CEO of our law firm with General Mattis on the main stage. And we were just thrilled with the number of students who came up to both of them after the presentation, who wanted to learn more, and then followed us to our breakout room. We had great attendance. We had really rich and deep conversations with folks and got them sort of into our pipeline. And so finding that kind of area where we knew that we had a captive audience, where they weren't distracted perhaps by all the different things going on campuses, was really, really useful and impactful for us, and something that I think we will continue to look for in the future, opportunities to meet those student athletes and veterans who are interested in kind of the next level, going to places where they're already primed and focused on, what we are doing and offering.
Ashley, thank you so much. I think what really stuck out for me and what really resonates is, as you said this a few times, of really meeting students where they are. I think that's a good transition for us to speak to whether Kelly or Ian want to talk a little bit more of this idea of meeting students where they are, but specifically in outreach strategies. So for Kelly or Ian, I'll let you decide who wants to jump in first on this question, but how have you adapted your outreach strategies and meeting students where they are? Or where they're already spending their time, whether that be online or at work in their communities. Can you two kind of highlight and touch a little bit on that as well? Kelly, I don't know if I can hear you. Can other folks hear Kelly? Oh, why don't we, Ian, how about you try it? Because I think Kelly, I couldn't hear. Let's jump to Ian real quickly and then Kelly, see if we can figure that out for you, okay? All right, Ian, you're up.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Ruben. Ultimately, the Chick-fil-A investment in scholarships is a little unique in that our partnership with Scholarship America really makes scholarships available to Chick-fil-A team members working in restaurants across the country. And so we've been really intentional about creating assets that local owner operators can leverage to make their team members aware of the opportunity. So through our partnership with Scholarship America, we've actually given team members the opportunity to opt into communication that allows them to learn more about the scholarship and the opportunities that are made available to them through their employment with Chick-fil-A. And then Scholarship America has also partnered with us to make a team member resource hub available. So team members are actually able to access critical information about their scholarship opportunities, key deadlines, and that sort of thing on the go, which is something that we've found to be really, really important.
Awesome. Great. Thank you. Kelly, let's see if we can get your audio here.
Yes, can you hear me?
Gotcha.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Well, I'm so thrilled to be with you all this afternoon. Thank you so much for the time and the platform to talk about our scholarship. So I just want to take a quick step back to let you all know what Equitable is, and it provides a little bit of context of kind of our old ways of doing things versus what we've kind of pivoted intentionally to better support and find students who need it the most. So we're a holistic financial services company, and our main goal is to help support our clients through retirement, long-term wealth planning services. We've got business lines in wealth management, life insurance, employee benefits, and retirement. We're actually proud of the fact that we're the largest 403(b) provider in educator retirement plans across the country. So with that, we've really leaned on, in the beginning stages of our scholarship, our financial, professional, wealth management networks and workforce. Since inception, our scholarship, we started in 2003. We've awarded $30 million in scholarship funding to over 7,400 students. We're really proud of that longevity and support systems for our scholarship recipients. But we were just needing to find alternate ways to find students who need it the most. Just kind of a quick story. Back in 2020, our new foundation president at the time, he sat down and met with our Equitable CEO, Mark Pearson. And Mark was very frank. He said, I Google mapped our recipients' houses and I was finding gated pools. I was finding our gated communities, pools, nice cars in the driveway. So how can we approach our scholarship to be more impactful and find students who really need it, who have that financial need? So beyond kind of our target outreach, we pivoted from our financial professionals. They were our big lever of getting the word out of the scholarship from 2003 to 2020, 2021. And then in 2022, we actually had a new model. We got away with a one-time award, and now we're doing the renewable awards. And we're partnering with community-based organizations who are already supporting students who are looking to go to college. So we're providing holistic support systems, not just funding, but college tour programming, importance of FAFSA, how to pay for college. We're really meeting students where they are at those trusted organizations that they already have a relationship with, to really kind of show up not just as a funder, but what else can we provide to those students beyond the funding. And then one last quick thing I'll say, I know this is long-winded. We also, in our application, we do require financial need, which was not what we had back in 2003, but something we've been implementing the past few years since we've seen a drastic change in our cohort demographic.
Kelly, I really appreciate you talking about equity or finding those students who are eligible for scholarships who may not know that they are eligible. I'm going to pitch this one to Susan and wondering if you can kind of elaborate and expand more on equity and outreach, but more specifically, how do we ensure that outreach strategies meet those students who may not see themselves as scholarship material? So Susan, would love to if you could touch upon that. And Ian, if you have a few words, you might want to talk upon that as well. But yeah, let's dive into a little bit more about those students who maybe don't see themselves as scholarship material.
Well, I love that. Thanks for having me. So thrilled to share this conversation with all of you. I will just invoke my father, rest in power, who told me early on that the one thing no one can ever take away from you is your education. It's a primary tenet of your pathway in life, regardless of what that might mean. So this work is deeply personal to me, but also using that equity lens. Now, CLA Foundation is a brand new partner with Scholarship America. We're just in our second year, but we're learning so much. And one of the things we really did exclusively, and I'll share honestly, I was raised in love, but not without trauma, as so many people are. And circumstances that are beyond your control often impact your success, your success trajectory. And so we thought about that from the very beginning. And some of the things we're doing, there's some very specific design elements that we're doing, as well as outreach. So like others, we work actively with CLA. We're a professional services firm, about 10,000 people strong across 130 locations across the country. We lean heavily on our recruiting team when they're out in campus spaces, and especially with our program specifically targeting HBCUs and affinity organizations in the accounting and professional services. So the National Association of Black Accountants, Ascend, there's so many that are sort of specific to trying to attract people to this profession that wouldn't otherwise. So we utilize those as ways to reach folks. But I think what was important to me and interesting to our board was when we talked about the design, we didn't ask for a 4.0. We didn't ask for a 3.5. We didn't ask for a 3.0. We used the same criteria we use in recruiting students and interns. So we lowered that. Does that mean we lowered our expectations? It does not mean that. It means that we're capturing kids that wouldn't otherwise maybe be considered in that traditional pool for academia and for scholarships. And what we found is that even with that criteria in place, we're still getting just the most extraordinary people applying that have really juicy and wonderful, tender stories about how they are where they are. And so that's been a really important element. And also making sure that while we use our employees and we use our virtual belonging communities or our employee resource groups, and we use a variety of different ways to reach out to people, this is not a benefit for CLA and its employees. This is truly a community benefit. So we work in our nonprofit industry. CLA has one of the largest nonprofit industry client bases across the country, especially in the state of Minnesota. And so we're reaching out to program providers in the nonprofit space that may have come along a person that would be a great candidate. The other thing we did, not to be too long-winded, is that we allowed this to be for recent graduates, people in current study, graduate work or certification reimbursement, and for returning students. And I'm happy to answer more questions, but I'll leave you with this. One of the letters we got after we did our first year was from a woman that told me that she had all but given up on herself and her education, that she made the sacrifice and the decision to support her 3 children as a single mother after circumstances took her far away from an academic path. And that not only was the money important to her to return to her studies, but maybe even more important was the belief that someone out there in the world believed she could do it. And she didn't feel alone in the work. She had the solidarity of CLA and all of our employees and our support to say, you can do it, and we're going to make sure that happens for you. So that's really one of the things that we think is a prideful component of the work we're doing when we're reaching all types of audiences for our scholarship.
I love that. That was beautiful. Susan, I want to stick on this a little bit more and open it up to the other panelists because I think you really touched on this idea of building trust with your board of saying, okay, we don't need the student with the 4.0 and 17 AP classes. Like we can open the doors for other students who are also great. For the rest of the panelists to also jump in this one, can we talk a little bit more about building trust at a distance? More specifically, thinking about like organizations that don't have physical campuses or storefronts, how can they build trust and personal connection with applicants and scholarship recipients? Ashley, I know you haven't talked in a while, so if you want to jump on this one would be great.
To jump in. Yeah, I mean, I think partnering with Susan mentioned, partnering with the National Association of Black Accountants, perhaps. And so partnering with other organizations that are in the community and working with, kind of front line with these constituencies is really powerful. I know that one of our, strongest recruiting tools is picking up the phone and speaking with, people from the Posse Foundation, from other foundations that exist that are already frontline and have the trust of the people in their communities has been incredibly impactful because then you have somebody, you can have somebody in Arkansas, you can have somebody in Texas, you can have somebody in, Massachusetts, all of these folks kind of working to spread your word more locally. And that is, I think, always such a powerful tool, is to have that person that they know, that the guidance counselor knows, that the students have gone to before, and then they can pick up the phone and call us. Whereas those students might be a bit intimidated to pick up and call big law firm and say, hi, how do I do this? I haven't done this. I've not been in this space before, but they've had somebody connect us. And then they get the right friendly face at the end of the other line that says, yes, this is for you. Let's chat. When do you have time? Oh, after soccer works, or after football practice at 7:30 works for your job or whatever that is. And that makes all the difference, is that first person that they speak with within our organizations being somebody that is available, is flexible, and who had that trusted advisor in the middle.
That's great. Anyone else want to touch upon before we jump to our next theme of going along the lines of trust? Yeah.
Yeah, I'll just say quickly from a funders' perspective, we really lean in on the fact that we know that we're not the experts, but we're here to kind of provide supplemental resources beyond funding for our partners, whether it's volunteerism, workforce, like things within our company, our real estate. We have nonprofits use our space all the time for their kind of internal meetings, realizing that, we bring value, not necessarily sometimes the expert side of it, but just other things within kind of our ecosystem. And then just touch upon kind of board trust. We also love to bring the perspective of nonprofits into our quarterly or yearly board meetings. So they're not just hearing it from us, they're hearing it from our trusted partners, the real true impact that we're making, whether it be their organizations or the students that they serve.
I would just thank you, Kelly and Ashley, for your comments. I would just add two other little pieces about trust. We're all across the country and we're all trying to matter in our own backyards. And so for us, there are two things that we do. Our scholarship is designed to be regionally proximate. So we are empowering our local offices across the firm to be the outreach coordinators or the ambassadors of the scholarship in their own communities. So we provide office locations, and then our scholarships need to be within a 50-mile radius of those office locations. So not only do we get a really wide, diversified regional representation, but our people are the ambassadors for the work when they're out in their community, when they're coaching t-ball, when they're at the soccer game, when they're at PTA, when they're in the pews, whatever they are doing, they become ambassadors of the work in their own backyard, which makes it a little more human, maybe a little bit more personal. The other thing our firm started doing a couple of years ago is a high school internship program. It's a month long. We get high school interns, you guys, high school. If you can remember what that was like, it is energy. But basically those interns embark on a foundation exercise with us, where they go through the process of identifying a nominee, vetting the organization, creating a video that gets presented to our foundation board. And then we select two of all of the cohorts across the country to receive a financial grant from us. Why does that matter? Because those high school students are going to be choosing where they're going to school. They're going to be choosing and forming their opinions about their career trajectory and the professions they choose. And this has also been a great way locally to get high school students talking to other high school students about the opportunity itself.
Thank you. Really appreciate those. So we talked about trust, right? But on the same side, we also have to look closely at how we measure or define success. And I'm wondering if Ian can kick us off with this question around this idea of measuring engagement and success. And the question is, how do we define and measure success when it comes to student engagement, both before the application and after awards are made? I'd love Ian to kick this off, and then if other panelists want to jump on this one, that would be great too.
Absolutely. Thanks, Ruben. I'll call out as we think about really measuring our success and effectiveness in engaging team members or scholarship applicants in this instance. We really focus on understanding team members' level of awareness. I previously mentioned that our scholarship program is one that really focuses on making scholarship opportunities available to the Chick-fil-A team members that employ the thousands of restaurants that exist across the country. And so one of our biggest metrics of success is just ensuring that those team members know that this opportunity exists and is available to them. And then we also determine success by the level of participation and engagement that we see. And one thing that we've done to really increase the relevance and really availability of the scholarship program, it actually touches on the equity piece that I'll share here as well, is being intentional about expanding the eligibility of the program. When we think about scholarships, first off, education and a commitment to education is core to who Chick-fil-A is. Our founder, Truett Cathy, launched the scholarship in an informal capacity way back in 1955. And so the organization has continued to invest in scholarships in a formal capacity for over 50 years. But one thing that we found to be true is that not every team member sees themselves as a traditional scholarship recipient. For whatever reason, definitely in the US, scholarships are typically associated with individuals on a traditional 2 or 4 year academic path. And so we found that um, success is really ensuring that every team member sees themselves as someone worth being invested in, and also someone who can be a lifelong learner. And so by expanding our eligibility criteria to include non-traditional schools, to allow team members, because our program assesses not only academic success, but community contribution, we expanded the definition of community service to actually include individuals that perform or are required to provide caregiving they have caregiving responsibilities, because we know that not every working adult has the free time to dedicate to a traditional community service activity, but things like taking care of aging parents or providing support to peers or siblings, those are definitely acts of service that warrant inclusion. And so one of our success metrics is the accessibility of the program. And so making shifts like those that I just described have definitely been ways for us to make the program a bit more accessible, and support us in achieving the success that we're looking for.
Thanks, Ian. I wanted to see if the other panelists wanted to chime in a little bit briefly on measuring success and measuring engagement and success. And if not, we can jump to another question about innovative outreach tactics. We don't want to forget that one too. But yeah, Kelly, it sounds like you might have something, yeah?
Yeah, so back in the early 2000s when our scholarship started, we were awarding, 300 plus scholars across the country at all types of amounts, 5K, 15K, 20K. But there really was no intentionality around the engagement. How are we going to engage our scholars moving forward as they're going through school? So in 2022, we readjusted our award model to include renewable awards. So we award 100 scholars. We limited the pool from 350 down to 100 each year. And we award them $5,000 for up to 4 years, totaling $20,000. So implementing kind of the model of recurring engagement for the funding. And then we also provide quarterly workshops for our scholars who are currently in college, centered around resume skills, resume writing, interview skills, personal branding, wellness workshops to, again, bridge the gap beyond the funding and provide additional resources, and also include kind of alumni connectivity too, trying to figure out how we can constantly and continuing to engage our scholars, from freshman year all the way to senior year. We're actually super excited. Our first renewable cohort in 2022, they're getting ready to graduate this spring. So we're really excited. We're implementing a survey and some research just to kind of see what impact, how we've been engaging our students the past 4 years, kind of see how that helped. So we're excited to see those results soon.
Great. Jen, how are we doing on a time check? I think I have at least 2 more questions, but I know folks out there also have questions too. Do we have time for at least 1 or 2 more questions on my end at least?
Looks like you have 15 minutes total.
Oh, great. Okay, great. We have plenty of time. All right. I do want to bring it back a little bit because I think we started the conversation thinking about meeting students where they were, innovative practices, and I'm wondering if all the panelists can chime in on this of something that has really stuck out. We have 80 participants on this call. I'm wondering, thinking specifically about those innovative outreach tactics. And when framing this question, the idea is if you can say something that the participants can take away specifically in this area. So the question is, can you share an outreach experiment, whether it's successful or not, that has changed how you approach student engagement?
I'll chime in first. We've this past couple of years have forged strong partnerships at the district level of public high schools. So we start conversations at the district level, getting in front of students, their juniors and seniors. We're talking about some of the topics I'd mentioned earlier: how to pay for college, importance of FAFSA, how to fill it out, how to create an affordable college list, really just getting in front of these students, and getting their brains turning on how they can, go to a 2 or 4 year school with either no debt or as little debt as possible. So really just getting in front of their faces, and then those topics also allow us to organically integrate our scholarship opportunity as well as with those districts too. I mean, we've seen great success in kind of starting at the top and going down and meeting students right in the classroom.
Great, thank you.
I'm happy to jump in as well. So something that we've done more recently, and again, just to remind folks, at Chick-fil-A, ultimately Chick-fil-A Inc. funds a scholarship program, but it is local owner operators who make the opportunity available to their team members. They're typically the vehicle through which this opportunity is promoted. And so a unique engagement tactic that we have really leaned into more recently is making customizable resources available for those local owner operators to promote the opportunity among their team members in a physical way. So while digital assets have really become the primary communication vehicle, we've really gone back to basics and making templates available that operators can customize and then print to actually hang up in their restaurants and remind prospective applicants of this opportunity. And we've seen, the inclusion of QR codes that take prospective applicants right to the application, clarity around the deadlines and that sort of thing being physically in the team member's presence. That is really proven beneficial in regards to increases in applications and things of that sort. So really excited about just the ability to kind of take it a few steps back and go back to practices that were more common a little while ago.
Sometimes it's really helpful to bring it back to old school, right? You think about this idea of pen and paper, but seeing that is critically important as well. Let's jump to this other question on how Scholarship America really falls into this equation. And the question that I have, and Jen, I think you can help us lead a little bit on this one too, is how does Scholarship America support or amplify your outreach efforts? And what value does a centralized platform bring to engagement?
I'm happy to jump in.
Yeah, please.
I don't know who's on this call, but I'm talking directly to you. Sometimes as an individual that leads a foundation with just 2 staff, sometimes you go to these webinars and these conferences and you get really excited about programming, and then you realize who you are, right? You're 3 people strong, you're managing all of this work. Our scholarship program is not possible without Scholarship America. And I mean that very seriously. When we thought about the fact that we wanted to, as part of our education pillar, deepen our relationships with students by providing scholarships, because of previous jobs I've had, I never quit on anybody. I carry them on my skin and in my bones, and Scholarship America had been a previous partner. And I just knew right away, because not only are they thought leaders with us and help us distill our criteria and our hopes and dreams into something tangible, but their muscle around your muscle around marketing and communications and strategies, digital imagery, social posts, things of that nature, which for a group of 2 or 3, we just wouldn't be able to manage it on our own. But because of Scholarship America, it feels like we have 10 more staff that are helping to level the playing field for the small among us. So if you're sitting in this audience, in this webinar, and thinking, well, that's great for Coca-Cola or Lego, it really is for you. I think they meet you where you are and they follow where you lead, and they can do something very simple to very complex. And we're really excited about growing the size of our scholarship program over the coming years. And it's all because of that, the first 2 years of really great success and feedback. But it's not possible without someone that has expertise in this space, and that is Scholarship America.
So it is possible with 2 people, right? We heard that, right? That's awesome.
It is humanly possible. Yes.
With the help of Scholarship America, right?
Yeah,
Ashley,
no
I saw
doubt.
you. Ashley, I saw you
Yeah.
nodding when Susan was mentioning something. I wanted to see if maybe you wanted to chime in a little bit too. Yeah.
I'd love to jump in there and just echo, even as part of a larger organization than where Susan has 3 people, many of those at larger organizations have other responsibilities as well. And so having Scholarship America with their institutional knowledge and their ability to administer, they have allowed us to scale, which has been really great. So whereas we would have been able to manage a much smaller program, they have allowed us to think bigger to reaching more people because they have taken that administrative burden off of us. And then also to what Susan said about helping to think about criteria and where to meet people. Somebody else mentioned, thinking about lowering GPA requirements. Do we get rid of them altogether? How do we make sure that we are leading with equity and leading with the people that we want to serve? And Scholarship America has been a great thought partner in that because, again, they have seen multipliers of this. They have seen it in so many different permutations that it kind of allows us to be like, okay, we have, an expert here with us to help guide and really consult with us to bring our vision to the people that we want to help and to, make our profession even stronger, we think.
Anyone else want to chime in on this question as well from the panel? Okay, we can bring it back too, because I do want to talk. I think something that really resonated with me, and I think I saw some likes when we were talking, is this idea of community, right? This idea of bringing it back to the community. And I wanted to give us justice to talk a little bit more about how that's important and how that shapes out the work we all do, and what the future might look like with folks in our community. So is there something that folks think we talked about working with nonprofits, employers, etc. So I think this would be my last question, Carrie, if that's okay. But yeah, can we talk just briefly? Oh, did you guys lose me? Yeah, a little bit. Sorry.
We did, but you're back now.
I'm back. Came right back. Okay. So community, what does that mean for us when we think about students in 2026 and beyond? And let's leave with that, and then maybe we can transition to the next questions. Yeah.
Well, this is a very ethereal question. So, Ruben, thanks for getting us thinking aspirationally outside of our traditional. I'm headquartered in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And if you've been watching the news recently, you know that sometimes people need community to stand up for them, to fight for the things that matter most, to show up with one another in solidarity. And in supportive environments. And so for CLA Foundation, community in general, and the reason we invest in this program is because we see the possibility, the unlimited potential, and showing up for these students as another person in their lives saying, I see you and I believe you, and I can't wait to see what you're becoming. I think those are the pieces for us that are really about how we show up in communities. We talked about our regional strategy, showing up in your own backyard with the people you know and love in the areas you live, work, and play. Those are all really important things. But more than anything, we think it transcends the gift, as so many letters have indicated to me, and is really about, I didn't think I could do it. And then I got your scholarship and realized someone else thinks I can. So that's really how we define our community and the community building we do.
I love that. That's so inspirational. Kelly, did you want to say something too? I think you came off camera. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'll just echo her sentiments in saying too that I'm based in Syracuse, New York. We have 3 office locations and we do a lot of partnership work in Syracuse, Charlotte, North Carolina. And we also have a corporate office in New York City. But to have the opportunity and to be able to support students right in our backyard, to also expose them to colleges through tours, just the importance of like how to pay for college, also careers, whether we're like the biggest building in our little small city of Syracuse, but we have the time and the temperature on top. And when we talk to students, that's literally how they know what we are. We don't know, they don't know what we do specifically, but they know where we're located. And so being able to go out into the community, to high schools in our backyard, and provide these opportunities for students is very meaningful.
Well, thank you. This is excellent. Our panelists survived the dissertation questions from my end, and now we get to pass it on to folks who have questions from the audience. So I think I'll pass it to either Jen or Carrie on this segment, but thank you, panelists, for diving into these questions. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Ruben, for being an amazing moderator, and to the panelists for all of your amazing reflections and pieces of advice. Again, this is another emphasis that it really takes a whole community to support, students and their higher education pursuits. Jed, I do have kind of a fun question, unless you had one that you wanted to throw out. So this hopefully is just, flipping everything and going back into that student mindset. We did have a few students write in with questions, and the main through line was, what's one next step I can take if I'm a student that is looking for scholarship opportunities? So if any of you just want to unmute and give a next step advice for a student looking for funding.
I'll say when I go into high schools and talk to juniors and seniors, the one takeaway I say, if you've got anything from me, the one thing I want you to write down is Scholarship America, because they are the entry point of all sorts of scholarship opportunities that you might be eligible for. Whether you're in college, you're in high school, you're doing certain programs, there's always potential opportunity to align with scholarships on that portal. It's a huge portal. All you have to do is make a profile and kind of see what you have opportunities for. So that's an easy first step.
I can offer a next step from CLA Foundation. Yes, exactly what Kelly said. Absolutely. Get into the portal with Scholarship America. But April 7th, folks, our deadline, our grant application will open. And so if you know people, and someone mentioned earlier that we're looking at supporting people that are interested in accounting. I don't know how many kids these days say, I want to be an accountant, unless maybe someone in their family was. But we're also doing professional service work here. So keep in mind, that's AI, machine learning, risk, technology. It's so many different parts of how our industry is changing, and how many minds we need to bring to the task that are also CPAs and accountants and assurance. But there's so many components of it. It's really a broad bubble. So April 7th, if you know somebody that you think needs to know about this, please send them to Scholarship America. It's the CLA Foundation Opportunity Scholarship. And we're so excited to hear from all of you.
Well, thank you so much, everyone. Again, thank you to Imaginable Futures for sponsoring this panel, for our amazing panelists and moderator, and for those of you who attended today. I do also want to flag that on April 23rd, we'll be hosting another webinar about supporting students with disabilities and health challenges. So stay tuned for more information on how to register for that. And let's keep this community going. Thanks, everybody. Have a great afternoon. After